and welcome to the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. It is beer, metal, and swearing. Of course, you are tuning in to check out my latest family vinyl haul. So get ready for the biggest vinyl check that we've ever had. Of course, I am Nick Cameron of Glacially Musical, and I am joined by my good friend Keefy Chakas, who today is just a normal human being with his own maladies, so he gets his real name. How we doing today?
In death, we have a name. His name is Robert Paulson.
Mm. Okay, well, as we all know, if you're joining us this week just for the vinyl focused episode, thank you very much. Give us a like just because you're here, and then give us an 18 to 24 month trial run on subscription. But here's how we do this: we beer check, we vinyl check, which is being held, we news check. However, this is a special edition chaser, so there's no news. You'll get a story of the day, which is my story. And then we shirt check, and then we get to the meat of the episode. I am gonna rock my beer check. Another Tasmanian IPA by Schlafley, which is brewed in St. Louis by St. Louis Brewing. And oh, look at that. I am on brand with the Schlafly pint glass, the Schlafly beer going into the Schlafly. That is the finger fudge pour down the middle. Not sexy, but it gets the job done. What you got for us today?
How'd it look? What do you think it looked like? Stuff going into other stuff. I am running out the string on these Deftones beers. Uh, I really need to just go buy some beers. I was doing some beer reconnaissance this week, so I'm looking at new beers that I've never had before to try to get in the future for the podcast. Also,
I
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that new beers is although I've got a new beer for later, whoop, whoop, and for the podcast anyway. But new beers is getting harder and harder. It's just my I'm not seeing many more new beers, so I get falling into ruts because it's I know this one is delicious. Maybe that other one's not.
Mm. Voodoo Ranger did give us a like on my check of them.
Not very nice. We
So
deserve
I
it.
I don't know if they understood why I checked them in the podcast, but
I
I
used to
should
be
have.
Twitter friends with their outside guy here in Missouri. I didn't realize who he was. We were at a concert. He's like, "What do you think about Rain?" This is before Voodoo Ranger. Like, Belgium. I'm like, oh, Ranger. It's okay. It's a bar beer. He's like, "What's that mean?" I'll buy it at the bar. I'm not buying it for home. He's like, "Well, I'll take that. I work for New Belgium." Oh, okay. Well, you got the honest opinion there, sir.
You're bad. Anyway, so once again, another Belching Beaver Deftones beer. This is the Phantom Bride. I've had many of these. So we'll do the pop, we'll do the finger fudge. I I think we're allowed to say finger fudge. I think we can get away with finger fudge. I don't think that's too obvious.
Finger fudge is just it's just you put your fingers in the fudge. It's fine.
Exactly. And we'll do a quick cheers while my beer settles. Cheers.
YouTube happy hour.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I actually have that sign on I've got a sign on my beer fridge that says it's 5 o'clock somewhere, which came from my late father and my late step. Excuse me, lost a lot of people in the last couple of years. My late stepfather's tiki bar. So I've got that, and then I've also got a couple other things up there. I've got a Minnesota trivet and an Iowa something or other that he was an on over the road estimator for a number of years. But shirt check. I am rocking my Pitter Patter Letterkenny t-shirt. Love Letterkenny. Hope everybody's watched the 868th season. I don't remember what number we're on. Kid asked me today, Dad, why do you want to be Canadian so bad? Lots of reasons.
I mean, beer, hockey, and niceness. That's three good reasons.
Rail system, trains everywhere. It doesn't get you 125 in the summer with in any way, shape, or form. I mean, sure, that winter in Manitoba is it's something, but it's worth it for me.
Interestingly enough, all the Canadians I have met do not like Canada as much as Americans like Canada. Just
Well, it's the
putting
same
that
thing
out
like
there.
Japan. Americans love Japan more than the Japanese love Japan. They love America.
Interesting. My shirt check, so I don't skip myself, is my punk rock MBA technical, brutal technical death metal on the front, and then the back says technical brutal death metal. So
Last night we're at the fish fry, and the kids are like, "Give us a topic," and I'm like, "What do you mean? What, just a topic that I'll win?" Okay, technical brutal death metal. And my child's friend's mom just looks over and says, "New topic." I'm like, I don't know that these kids know Black Dahlia Murder that well, but okay.
let's discuss what is the best album by At the Gates. Carcass lyrics in a nutshell. Go.
Which Carcass lyrics are better? When they were just reciting the autopsy, or when they went metaphorical about the autopsy? So yeah, you tell me. Yeah, I don't know what the topics were about, but they definitely were not. Okay, which was better, Carcass with Bill Steer or Napalm Death with Bill Steer? What are we thinking, kids? George Corpse Grinder, whatever, man. But real quick, story of the day. It's not a very good story, so I'm going to keep it short. But, one of the great things about being a parent is my child is now into vinyl, and it took a long time for her to really want to do that. And the joke I made at work recently was that vinyl isn't just for disillusioned Gen Xers like myself who missed it, because I'm not OG vinyl. Everybody knows that, I hope. Just I'm not. I came back to it. I came back to it. When I was growing up, those big black things were, that was old people stuff. That was broken stuff. It was too hard. It was too fragile. Well, obviously, I've come back to it in my later years. And I asked her recently, are kids your age getting into records, getting into, having vinyl records? And she's like, yeah, they are. I'm not the only one. And I know a couple of our other friends that have turntables, and it just, when people say that this current vinyl resurgence is a fad, it's clearly not, because the Gen Xers have given it to their kids. The geriatric millennials have given it to their kids. So the next generation is doing this as well. And record stores are popping back up. Here, we decided during all of our errands, because we had to finish up Aldi, because the Aldi we went to didn't have everything. We had to go to Trader Joe's. We had to go to World Market for these things we couldn't find. We had to go to Target for cat food and all that stuff, right? So I'm like, what record store do you want to go to? We're only going to one, because if we went to multiple ones, we'd spend way too much money this weekend. So we chose Planet Score Records. I bought a record, and she bought, and I'll check mine down the road. But she picked up for herself, on my dime, I should add. She picked up Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? It was a repress, so, but she doesn't know any better.
Too bad she didn't know you just sold me that like about 4
No, no,
months
no,
ago.
no. That was
Electric
Electric
Lady
Lady.
Lady.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think Are You Experienced is probably his best studio album.
I agree.
His best proper studio. There's a lot of great songs on Electric Ladyland, but there's a lot of, they were all really high in the studio on that album as well. 19 like the 12-minute tunes, I don't need any of them. But that's just me. But anything you want to get off your chest this week before we get going, that we can think about for the weeks that it takes for this one to blow?
I will just say, to add to your point, I think I remember back early, the first episode of January, we were discussing the vinyl numbers of worldwide sales for 2022. Like I said, Tay Swifty there with her 80,000 vinyl sales in 1 week. Adele has sold probably about 115,000 of that 250,000 double vinyl she made, as I predicted. I think we're about one big pop or rock star, like boy band BTS. It would be interesting to look at their numbers. Not a fan of like 21 Pilots or whatever, but like 21 Pilots. or the weekend if like a major pop rap star releases a brand new album. I bet that's going to be the tipping point.
It's
To
interesting to me that the modern hip hoppers don't do vinyl to speak of.
I think
They
the speed of their music is so fast, and it's really a singles market anyway,
mm,
that by the time they get to an album, everybody's got it already. So where's the collectability factor? But I think if you get that one smart, like Travis Scott just put out a new album, and I don't know if he pressed a lot of vinyl, but it'd be interesting to see if
we're at a very interesting point in terms of media and music consumption. The in my limited view, it seems like the scales are tipping back towards physical media, both as a souvenir, both as a and as a medium to actually listen. It there We're no longer seeing what we saw in the 90s where it was the vanity pressings, like Metallica pressed Injustice for All in 1988. Excuse me. And they went over the top on it by pressing it on two albums, even though they could have squeezed it on one, knowing full well, even though most people don't buy this, for the ones that do, we want this to be good. Or the vanity pressings of Motley Crue self-titled, which I still cannot afford and probably will never have. Friggin' South Korea's got it, but can't get it over here. And it's interesting because there are now a lot of pressings for each major artist. It may not be 40% or 50%, but enough that you can get it unless it's Kiss, because Kiss fans are just stupid with this. They keep thinking it's retirement vinyl when it's not retirement vinyl. You don't need 4 copies of this sealed to sell me later. But that's besides the point.
we are probably forgetting the 800-pound gorilla on the podcast that we always talk about every single week. We have neglected to mention Metallica
I've mentioned them.
Today. And,
Yeah.
72 seasons is, as we record this, which this will air probably either before or after that. So let's say 72 seasons is imminent.
No, this will air before or after, but just not on the day it comes out.
That is a microcosm of how I feel today. So sorry.
Oh, but it's a Friday. We drop on Friday, so this even could come out. This episode will come out before, after, or day of 72 seasons.
Well, yeah. I'm hoping we'll do a review of 72 seasons as
Oh my God, yes.
as a whole episode the week it
Oh
comes
yeah.
out.
Oh yeah.
If we get it early, that'll be amazing. I'm definitely going to the theater thing. But I was gonna say, so Metallica, if you had a guess, how many vinyls do you think Metallica is pressing of their first vinyl in the vinyl comeback era, or second, depending on when you count that era?
What are you talking about? 72 seasons then?
I don't think Hardwired had a vinyl the day it came out. Did it?
It did. I did. I got it.
Okay. Do you think they pressed a lot of them or a small amount to see?
They had Metallica themselves had like 3 versions going just for Hardwired. I bought the standard edition, which they didn't even list as limited edition, and I got it day of. But for 72 seasons, I'm gonna say they're probably pressing 100,000.
We're both drinking at the same time. Bad move. What do you think? So if they pressed 100,000, let's forecast.
If they pressed 100,000,
How many
50,000 are gonna go day one.
How many are pre-orders?
50.
And then walk-ups the day of. Another 10, 15 probably.
Yeah, probably.
Walmart's gonna have it.
Well, Walmart will have a Walmart pressing. Oh,
Maybe.
I'm sorry.
Not
Yeah,
the first day.
You're probably right. Yeah, Walmart will have it. Target will have it. Best Buy will have it. I mean, these 3 stores have all kicked CDs to the curb.
Best Buy sells records. I am not aware.
They do. They have a terrible, terrible, terrible selection. I mean, they got like 50.
This is pretty sad. I have within eyesight of my window here, I have a Best Buy and an Office Max that are both closed. That closed in the last calendar because San Francisco's of that
I
kind.
used to live in an apartment where when I looked out my little peephole, I could see the Best Buy. There was the Best Buy at our local grocery store, Schnucks. It was great. But yeah, we are in a new vinyl renaissance. I am thrilled for it. I am happy for it. Hopefully, legacy well, Kiss has been pretty smart about it because they're releasing a lot of stuff on vinyl that are not that, and they're releasing the limited edition color version just directly from their site than the black is everywhere else. There is a Dress to Kill pressing that came out recently that is now going for $1,000 because Kiss fans will pay $1,000 for a record they will never open that they already have 48 other copies of.
Kiss is gonna retire at the end of this year, retire from touring, and then next year is their 50th anniversary of the first album. So like I have a gut feeling.
Actually spun that before actually spun my OG pressing of that before we hit record today.
Yeah, we're gonna get like a 50th anniversary everything Kiss next year. Next year. That's how they're gonna follow up no more touring. They're gonna go hard
Do they really
into
need to though? My God, if you were them and you had worked for 50 years on this, wouldn't you just be ready to be like, you know what? I just want to go to the beach.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I think Gene wants to go to the beach and Paul is gonna keep working. But all right. We now covered Kiss and Metallica. Shall we do anything on Pink Floyd and just go forward? I think we're good on Floyd.
I don't want to talk about Floyd right now, so
That's fair.
all righty. So here's how this happened. I alluded to earlier, my family is aging, and my father-in-law died at 76. My mother died in her early 70s. My stepfather, I mean, we've had a lot of losses during this era in our lives. And I have been lucky enough to, we'll call it, inherit as many records from the collections as I wanted. And my auntie Babs, whom I love dearly, her husband died. He'd been sick for almost as long as my mother had been sick. He died about 6 months ago, and she had been saying for a while, I really want Nick to come over and pick through these records and take home whatever he wants. And being a vinyl guy for now, it's going to change soon. It's a lot like being vegan or CrossFit. You find out in 30 seconds of meeting that person if it's like, what record you buy this week? None. I don't like you, kind of thing. So, oh, you eat meat? I hate you, kind of. Anyway, also, if you have an electric car like myself, I drive an electric car, so got to get that stuff out so everybody knows. And she had told me, she doesn't always know what records I'm posting on Facebook because we're Facebook friends, but she sees how excited I am about each new record that I acquire, and she wanted to pass along that. As when this episode was teased on our Baroness Blue Record episode, I checked Pink Floyd's Delicate Sound of Thunder, and I was very excited about that album. And when this is the third or fourth time somebody has told me, Nick, you can come over and look at so and so's record collection and take whatever you want. Uh, well, the first time I took a bunch of stuff kind of like as a kindness because I drove 45 miles south to get there, so I might as well take something. I don't even know if I ever really listened to them. When my father-in-law, when we found his records, we have them all. There's about 80 that we kept, which is actually some back here and then some in a special section for his. And then I'm going to get another calyx to go next to this one to put the rest of his records. With this one, we're as we were driving up, we are like trying to figure out how old he was during when certain landmarks happened. Oh my God, will there be an original pressing of Piper at the Gates of Dawn? Will we get Kiss Alive from 1975 on the blue label? You just never know. We didn't get any of those. We did get some cool stuff though. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead and hit it. Just say cacaw when you want to talk about a record you see. Taking a sip. Record 1. Roy Orbison's greatest hits. You're Gonna Cry, This Kind of Love, Sweet Easy to Love, Rock House, You're My Baby, Ooby Dooby, Fools Hall of Fame, Domino, The Cause of It All, A True Love Goodbye. Huh.
Always a good idea to fully cover your face when reading the back of the album on a podcast that ends up on YouTube, by the way.
Wait, were you being sarcastic? Because I was trying to be between the microphone.
Yeah, there's also a glare, so I think it doesn't
Oh.
hold it up to show the cover, and
Okay.
then I think off to the side and read it this way, so the visual people following.
Oh, because you know what? All the blankets that I put down get ruined because it's gonna bounce. Oh, okay.
Eventually, we'll get you a little light filter thing that you're missing in your setup, but right now is not the time.
Yeah, we're getting there. I got a nice microphone though. So
You do have a
next
nice
record, Roy Orbison, early Orbison, The Great Pretender, Cry, Can't Stop Loving You, Say It's My Fault, blah 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 blah. Pretty One. What the hell, man? Notice anything missing on these two Roy Orbison records?
Oh, most of his actual hits and
Pretty Woman. I mean, that's the one anybody cares about.
What crying? Why is his face on that second record look like the sketch drawing of Heisenberg from Breaking Bad?
He's a baby. This is early Orbison.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my eyes are failing me. Go ahead.
No, that's totally fine. Okay, next we're gonna drop some new wave action. Spandau Ballet, Parade. Very cool cover. Looks like, well, frankly, I'd say it looks a little bit like North Korea if North Korea were new wave. You know, I'm not a big fan of Spandau Ballet. I don't really know them. But if you look closely, can you see that? This is a promo copy of the record. So,
yeah, it's True on there. That's the only song I care about by them that anyone probably cares about.
no, it is not.
Oh well, that's their biggest hit. So,
well, you know what? I like new wave sometimes.
I do too. I mean, new wave is probably one of the genres hugely influencing a lot of music today, including rock and metal. So, very interesting.
All right. Next, we're gonna drop some Willie. Stardust. I'm sorry, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Nothing significant on this one. It does have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which I have a lot of questions. Next is Stardust. I apologize. This one, it's got Willie in a pretty ridiculous hat in the back there. It's got Georgia on My Mind, Unchained Melody, and a whole other side, and another 2/3 of a side of music too.
What's the year on that? Is that 76? I think that's the record that he made that was called the Sellout record.
And it looks like a sellout record.
Oh,
78.
Yeah, so
it's all covers and stuff.
I mean, that's his mid-era when he dipped his foot into, he started to get like pop culture cachet.
Right.
Not just
now here's where it gets interesting. And anybody watching this on YouTube, I'm about to haunt your nightmares. This is Willie Nelson, Columbus Stockade Blues, and Other Country Favorites. I didn't know, like many others, Willie Nelson was a Nashville hack. What the hell is that?
Not Willie Nelson. It's like a bad photo of Johnny Cash, actually.
It's Willie Nelson. It is straight up Willie. Look, okay, again.
All right. It doesn't look like him.
When you make the slide, you put that photo. Yeah, this has got Seasons of My Heart. I don't know any of it. A song called Fraulein. I don't know any of this. But I thought, you know what? Willie Nelson, no beard and brown hair. Okay, whatever. I want to hear that. And everybody's favorite fake band. Who is it?
Motley Crue.
The Monkees.
Sorry.
Apparently, my wife wants to get any greatest hits record of the Monkees we can get. Nice gatefold, good shape. You know, a lot. These are all in really good shape, by the by. All right, now Who's your favorite country music outlaw?
Waylon or Johnny or Willie.
Well, whoop, Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. What's the title?
Destination Victoria Station,
Okay.
12 Railroad Classics. Most of these Johnny Cash records I'm about to pop out are compilations. One of the things about Johnny Cash that I think a lot of people don't really realize, and I love Johnny Cash, I love him unnaturally. Frankly, he doesn't have a lot of great records. It's true. I'm sorry. Name a Johnny Cash. Okay, if you're listening to this and you're angry, hit me in the comments with your favorite Johnny Cash studio record that's not American recordings.
Or not a live album from the 60s or 70s.
Correct.
Yeah,
Studio
none of the prison albums. A studio album. Yeah. The two that come to mind, the first couple of Johnny Cash solo records.
Now there's a song, Johnny Cash and his hot and blue guitar.
And then the record when he came back from Israel before he did Folsom. So there's a record in there with a lot of the religious songs that I don't love religious songs, but I love the delivery of him and June.
I have a Johnny Cash religious record up here that I got at Goodwill, and it was in amazing shape. It's not my favorite Johnny Cash record. He doesn't sing it. He sings a little bit about murder, which seems surprising for loving a Jesus record, but he's Johnny Cash. He does what he wants, right? So moving on to the next Johnny Cash compilation. Story songs of trains and rivers. Again, another the interesting thing about this one is it is a Sun Records compilation. So his first couple of records were on Sun Records, and then they sold him to Columbia. I think it was Columbia. They sold him because they would never be able to do him justice. Same thing with Elvis.
Let's say they sold his contract, because they sold him leaves a bad taste in my mouth. They sold his contract.
Okay. I apologize. They sold his contract to a major record label with worldwide distribution for a pretty penny. I am certain Elvis had the same treatment.
It'd be pretty funny in this day and age if the record industry was just, here's a sidebar for a second. If the record industry was the same today as it was 60, 70 years ago, it'd be pretty funny if like Ed Sheeran had a song about like every one of his songs is about a girl. And he then the record label decided like no more new records from you. We're gonna have all Ed Sheeran sings songs about women. Ed Sheeran's Heartbreak album. Ed Sheeran's love songs for Valentine's Day, because that's what they were doing with Johnny. Far from Folsom Prison, all the live long day train song.
Oh yeah, well he
hear my
never
train
stopped.
Coming, and then the label was like, let's keep putting out train records.
That never stopped. If you look at the American Recordings albums, which are considered to be his best work, and they are his best studio work. If you look at those, half of those records are him redoing songs he wrote in the 60s, and half of them are covers. My favorite song that he did on that series is I Hung My Head, which is a cover of a Sting song.
Yeah, I don't want to say they're his best records. I think they're his best sounding records. And I just think I don't want to do this torture porn thing where because he was like 80 or 90 and he had like, we know so there's the two Johnny Cashes, right? There's the Johnny Cash. There's the Johnny Cash. That's the Johnny Cash we all know from the movie. And then there's the real Johnny Cash. So like, I love the American recordings, and I really am thankful that he had a big resurgence. And I love Rusty Cage cover and things like that. Ain't No Grave gonna hold me down, but like I'm hesitant to say they're his absolute best work.
I'm talking about the ones he did during his lifetime.
Yeah, I am too. I'm hesitant to call that his best work, but we can debate that for another time.
Well, I'm going to say this and move on. A lot of what makes it his best work is he took his best works and put them in with a lot of other artists' best works and only sang them. So it's not fair to compare them to what he did before. But the thing about Johnny Cash is he gets a lot of undue praise for being a songwriter, where most of his records he didn't write them. He didn't write most of his records. Anyway, moving on. Johnny Cash, One Piece at a Time. This is Johnny Cash and the Tennessee Three, One Piece at a Time. This is the only Johnny Cash studio record that came out of this. It's got, of course, One Piece at a Time, and it'll never cost you a dime. It does have a song about a railroad. I mean, you know what? He had a brand. He had a brand. Moving on, the Johnny Cash children's album. I don't know why the hell I grabbed this, but you know what? It's Johnny Cash. He's going to sing it. I might only listen to it 5 times. Next comes the only Johnny Cash concept record I'm aware of, The Gospel Road. Apparently, he did the soundtrack to a movie about Jesus. And you know what? He loved Jesus. So, more power to you, Big J. Or as I call him, JC. Next is Johnny Cash. Where's Johnny Cash? 9-Pound Hammer, Lorena, Long Black Veil, When Papa Played the Dobro, I Still Miss Someone, Bad News, Streets of Laredo. Streets of Laredo. Johnny Cash singing Streets of Laredo. If you don't love that, I hate you. Viscerally.
You're so caustic. I hate you. Gosh. Like, watch it with that, man. Like, we need to promote love and
all right.
positivity
If
and
you don't love
unity.
if you don't love this song, I would like to sit down with you, purchase you a beer, and convince you how wrong you've been.
I mean, if you don't like Johnny Cash, I don't trust you is fine. Hate is very strong. And let's
all right. You know what? I'm going to quote Ben Affleck from Good Will Hunting. If you don't love this song, even if you don't like Johnny Cash, I question you to begin with. But if you don't love this particular tune, you suspect. Retainer. Ain't nobody doing a job in this town without a retainer.
Nick Cameron's Boston accent, ladies and gentlemen.
It was horrible, right?
That wasn't that bad. It started strong.
All right, fair enough. Then we got Frankie's Man Johnny, which that is a story about something that happened in St. Louis in the 1800s, which I find interesting.
Wait,
Next,
was that an album or?
It was a compilation, I believe.
Okay, I like you to slow down a little bit.
I'm just trying to get.
I know you're getting through a lot of stuff. I just want you to slow down, show the vinyls, pause on it for a second, hold it up, and then read off of it. Okay. I think we're just rapid firing through these. And if they're meaningful to you, you should mention that. But if they're not, it seems like you're whipping through these like they don't matter.
Fair enough.
If they matter, spend a little time on them. That's my 2 cents.
All right. Next is a record that I am excited to have. Cannot wait to listen to it. However, it won't be for 9 months. Why is that?
It's a Christmas album.
Correct. Johnny Cash, The Christmas Spirit. What do we got on here? Wow, silent. The first side is not traditional Christmas tunes. So I don't know any of these. Side 2, Silent Night, Little Drummer Boy. Other songs? Who Kept the Sheep? I don't know any of this. Okay. I'm excited. I can't wait to listen to this because that means it's Christmas. I will not. We have, I think, about 60 Christmas records on vinyl. Do not spin them until Christmas. That is just. My wife last year complained that she didn't have the Pentatonics Christmas record. On December 25th, I purchased it on my phone. It arrived around January 2nd, and I put it in the box. Put it in the Christmas box.
Question: when does Christmas begin for your family? Is it on Thanksgiving or the day after?
Day after. Okay. Let Thanksgiving breathe, man. That's my day. Thanksgiving is the only holiday my wife lets me have completely. So,
right.
Moving on.
And again, we don't celebrate genocide. We celebrate turkey and football.
No.
Go ahead.
Correct. I celebrate being thankful that I'm still here.
Yeah, word.
And my family. Moving on. Hymns by Johnny Cash. Oh, wow. Most of these are not actual hymns, but it does have Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And I mean, I don't know how many versions of Swing Low, Sweet Chariot is enough, but I haven't found it. I have not found that number yet. And Johnny Cash doing it, definitely in.
I would like to hear that. I'm going to go investigate that after this. My favorite version currently of Swing Low, Sweet Chariot is lettered color. because Leonard Cohen voice.
All right. Well, you know what?
That sounds like literature.
All you have to do is get your ass here for Metallica.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying.
I know. All you have to do is sell a kidney on the black market that doesn't exist.
I don't really think anybody wants these kidneys, bro.
Well, you know what? We've
They'd be
made
like,
it sound
hey, you know
bad.
what? If I end up in an accident and I'm brain dead, would anybody want these organs? Look at me. It's like Zach and Miri. Would you buy food served by me? I would not eat a meal served by you. No.
You know what? But you know what? I'm not going there because this is a family show. Apparently, now it's gonna go anyway. Moving on. Now's where we get a little bit cool, right? Okay. Found some AC/DC records. These were purchased in Germany by Auntie Babs' son. The first is High Voltage. Notice anything different? Completely different cover. This is a New Zealand pressing in the mylar from the 80s. This is the second pressing. All of these are second pressings. And the label is Albert X. Again, this is a New Zealand only pressing. And that is all of them. All of these records have the Australia, New Zealand covers only. And before you ask, no, I have not done an A to B yet. Next up, TNT, New Zealand. Again, what can you say? That is, these are legitimate rock and roll classics. These are boogie blues rock. Nothing better. Next, of course, Dirty Deeds, Done Dirt Cheap. This is the one that I can do the A to B on. I have got an American pressing of it. It's definitely going to get it. And actually, I've got an idea for a chaser where we discuss pressings, specific pressings. Next is AC/DC, Let There Be Rock. Don't know anything about this one. Now we're going to get into some stuff that I didn't know. How many records does Huey Lewis and the News have?
At least 10.
I would have guessed 2. And I have now sports. So first we have, picture this. Don't know any of those songs. Next we have Self-Titled. I don't know any of those songs. Next we have 4. Don't know any of these songs.
Oh, come on. You have to. Read the titles. That's the second biggest record.
You know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I said that. I jumped the gun. Jacob's Ladder, Stuck With You, Whole Lot of Lovin', Doing It All for My Baby, the second biggest Huey Lewis and the News tune. What is it?
Hip to Be Square.
Hip to Be Square. That's next. Yes, correct. Side 2, that I Know What I Like, Never Walk Alone. Wait a minute. Are they Liverpool fans? No. I'm like Roger, man. Arsenal.
I don't know if you know this, that like Huey Lewis spent quite a lot of time in Europe, and he was very close friends with Phil Lynott of Thin Lizzy.
Look, I'm going to quote Kevin Smith on this. What I don't know about Huey Lewis, you could just about squeeze into the Grand Canyon.
Right. Yeah. That is the second biggest hit album besides Sports.
All right. Well, you know what? That's a good looking record. So moving on, Christmas sing along. Wife insisted. I don't feel like we need another rando Christmas record that's not somebody we love. But I also, that meme where you see Taika Waititi and it says, my executive level breadwinning wife, me showing her my Lego collection. That happened to me last week when I was explaining to her about how I bought this specific pressing of a record. And she looked at me and she goes, Nick, I'm happy for you. But all right, I'm going to go back to my phone. You have a great night. So moving on. Brandi Carlile. Heaven on Earth. I don't know this at all.
Um,
Why?
Belinda Carlisle, not Brandy
That's
Carlisle.
God damn it.
Brandy
Anyway,
Carlisle
I
is
know I can't keep them straight.
Has a career. Well, I mean, like, wow, that's a. Belinda Carlisle is the lead singer of the Go-Go's
Go-Go's.
in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I assume they're both the lead singer of the Go-Go's.
And that is her big hit single of her solo career, right? That's her big song.
Okay. When Brandy Carlisle was on SNL, I'm like, all right, the lady from the Go-Go's. Wife's like, no. Okay, well, I can't keep it straight. Moving on.
The new podcast host is going to be Nick's wife starting next week. You're fired.
Busy. She's way busy.
She's way too busy for a podcast.
She's busy paying for my lifestyle. Joan Baez, the best of Joan Baez, America's most exciting folk singer.
That is a hell of a marketing tag, by the way. But I love Joan Baez. I unashamedly love Joan Baez.
Loved her doing Goodbye Blue Sky. Nope. Never mind. I'm gonna shut up because I got all this wrong.
Good.
Wow.
No, just like good that if you got it wrong, good.
All right. Moving on.
Sorry.
My favorite music video from 1983 featuring ninjas. Bonnie Tyler.
We need a hero.
That's not on this record, but Total Eclipse of the Heart is. Watched that video again the other day, and I'm like, wow, those ninjas are dressed stupid.
Who is the other singer on that song?
No idea.
Meatloaf. Who is
on Total Eclipse of the Heart?
She is Meatloaf's protege. I don't know if Jim Steinman and Meatloaf's protege. I don't know if you know that. And fun fact.
Produced by Jim Steinman. Booyah! All right. Now, here comes a record that would be great for the Department of Metal Antiquities if we did Australian 80s pop stars.
In excess?
Rick Springfield.
I really consider him, I always considered him American because he lives here, but I guess you're right.
Is he not Australian? I don't know. It's called Tao. It's Rick Springfield and it's called Tao. None of that makes sense. Moving on. All right. Country and Western's original bad boy. Probably going to get canceled for even having this in the podcast. David Allan Coe. Also, this is a promo copy. I've never actually heard David Allan Coe.
I don't think anybody can appreciate that you pointed to where the promo sticker is, but I like that you're sharing them. David Allan Coe is best known for Take This Job and Shove It.
That's him?
And yeah, that's him. It's his song. And he made an album with Vinnie Paul, Dimebag Darrell, and Rex Brown. And so the David Allan Coe and the Cowboys from Hell album is actually quite good. And he still plays a Dimebag Razorback guitar to this day when he plays live.
All right.
They were good friends.
He was a polygamist for a time.
Yeah, he's kind of like the weird Dr. Demento of country. Is that accurate or no?
I don't know. I've never actually heard him. I read some interviews with him. I saw that and I thought, you know what? I'm taking that home. You know what? If I hate it, I hate it. But next, we're going to move on to packages UPS can't deliver. Tom Jones. Also, another promo. This is listed as demonstration, same as David Allan Coe. Demonstration not for sale. It says the theme from the Pink Panther, so I mean, it's got that going for it. That's odd.
I understood that reference about UPS, by the way. Go ahead.
What's from I Love the 70s? About David Allan Coe. Greg Proofs, I believe his name is the one that said it.
Tom Jones, not David Allan Coe.
Yeah, Tom Jones. And moving on. Okay. One of my favorite comedians, Tim Wilson, said, when she leaves you and you're awful, what's the CD that's going in the CD player? Merle Ass Haggard. He'll sit there and he'll smoke the joint with you. You know how she was, Merle? Merle Haggard. I don't know any Merle Haggard song, so I don't know how significant this record is.
What's the title though? Can you say the title?
Keep moving on.
All right, thanks.
My Auntie Babs' husband was big on the countries. Next is more Merle Haggard, 11 winners. I don't know if this is I don't know. Is this compilation? Is this a studio record? No idea. Here's something interesting. Now, if you have been worried about the race swaps, the gender swaps, and all that business, and you think it's a brand new thing, well, you know what? Go ahead and eat a bucket of them. Here's Nat King Cole doing My Fair Lady. Dude, it's got get me to the church on time. I'm excited to hear this. Love My Fair Lady.
Nat
It is
King
the first
Cole,
non-Monty Python. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say Nat King Cole. I would pay to hear him sing the phone book. It doesn't matter what he sings.
Well,
Great.
My Fair Lady was the first non-Monty Python musical I've ever seen. My musical career started with Spamalot. I admit it. So, moving on. Speaking of racial equality, Breakfast at Tiffany soundtrack. Do not Google it. Do not look at it. Do not Google Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Oh my God. Elvis, Golden Hits. Oh, this is a 2-record set. Oh, we got that going for it. A Big Hunk o' Love. I wonder if that was written in 1974. Okay, moving on. Famous gentlemen who married their cousins. Jerry Lee Lewis. I don't know if this is a compilation or what, but it's got Long Tall Sally, Johnny Be Good, Herman the Hermit, and other songs.
If this episode doesn't get us canceled, nothing will.
I said cousin, not you know.
His 13-year-old cousin. Anyway, go ahead.
Whoa, I wasn't gonna say it.
Well, then I gotta put it out there. Continue.
Not drag me into that conversation.
Reeling with the feeling. Don't stop. Continue.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Moving on. REO Speedwagon 2. One of the things about living in the Midwest that I think a lot of the coastal elites don't understand is how ignored we are by the major artists. One of my major complaints over the past few years is when it comes to especially metal bands, because you can't, we don't tour, metal bands don't tour 200 dates a year like they used to. So, St. Louis, Chicago, Kansas City are only going to get 2. No metal band does all 3. So you hope to God we get hit. REO Speedwagon is one of those bands that never missed us, never stopped missing us. Unfortunately, their music is not great. However, wife's a fan, so REO Speedwagon 2.
Rather than listen to REO Speedwagon, what I like to do is check out the Will Ferrell, Chris Kattan sketch where they act as REO Speedwagon. That's more.
No, that was Blue Oyster Cult.
No, you're thinking of the
Cowbell.
Walkin'. Still Ferrell, but Walkin'. And Kattan is in there too, but it's a different sketch.
There was another one?
Yeah, there's a sketch where they start doing All Out of Love with different lyrics, and then they make out. It's awesome.
Fair enough. Let us close out the pile. Okay, I'm going to let you guess. And if you can guess it correctly, the artist or the song, I will tell you this. The song has been in a Kevin Smith movie, not King Diamond. So if you can get this right, you can pick the next series.
I'm not picking the next series. I picked the last 2. You're gonna pick the next series.
I picked. No.
Is it?
I picked Exodus.
I mean, yeah, but
I picked it for you.
Yeah. You're gonna lead the next series, so you ought to pick it. I'm gonna say, is it Pixies with Hey?
No, what? No,
Is it Blondie with Dreams?
no. You are way off the mark. It is Andy Williams.
Oh,
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
wasn't it B.J. Thomas though?
He probably wrote it or made
Yeah,
it
he might.
popular.
Yeah, I think he. Yeah, I think Andy Thomas wrote it.
You
But
know, and that is one of the things that we're gonna let's kind of circle back to. In this day and age, it's not like it used to be. You know, Paul Stanley in 1987, 1988 writes the terrible song, truly awful track, Hide Your Heart. And Ace Frehley does it, Kiss does it, and like 4 or 5, Molly Hatchet does it, some lady does it. I mean, a bunch of people do it. And that was how it used to be back in the day. I have on record somewhere, or maybe I don't anymore, but I did, Chris Christopherson singing Folsom Prison Blues. I have like 8 people singing that track. That's why it was so important. You know, when I saw the Monkees as such, just Mickey and Mike, you know, Mickey Dolenz told a story on stage about how it's important to write songs and how Mike Nesmith was the one that taught him that. He's like, why should I write it? Why don't I just sing it? Because Nez says that's where the money is. If you get a hit, it's not just about getting paid on what you sell, but it's also like I watched a video while I was waiting for before we started of, I swear to God, Cher and Donny Osmond and a troupe of very attractive gentlemen singing It's Superstitious by Stevie Wonder. So me watching that get Stevie Wonder paid now, and this is like 27-year-old Cher. That's where the money is. So, and then you have record labels like in That Thing You Do, where they hire their dudes and they're like, okay, great, awesome, here's your contract. Who's the songwriter? Hi, Jimmy. You get track 1 and track 10. And the rest, here's what you're doing. So when we talked about Johnny Cash not being the greatest songwriter in the world, if you look at his records, 50 to 75% of every studio album he did before American Recordings was written by someone else. So if you go through all of these 60s and 70s records, not only do you have that, but then you have all of the stuff like Claire Torrey. Oh, crap. Pink Floyd time. So I was watching a documentary, and Claire Torrey was talking about how Alan Parsons had heard her on one of those hits of records, which they used to do in the 70s, where you would hire bands to re-record all these hits. But it didn't say in big letters that it wasn't the band playing them. So you'd buy them at the truck stop or whatever. It was not, it was normal business for record labels to just really wring every last red cent out of every song. And that's why we have Andy Williams doing these.
yeah, I don't want to defend. I'm not trying to countermand your assertion, but I will say that like it's not to disparage Johnny Cash. I think that people recognize his talent and his charisma, and a lot of people. I mean, how many songs did Elvis actually write? Almost none. So like
He wrote one.
somebody is writing the songs for everybody else, and that's just how it goes.
Yes,
And
I'm not trying to disparage Johnny Cash by any stretch.
And you came perilously close to insulting. I think you're banned from talking about Great Gig in the Sky ever again after the last episode. I don't want to hear you disparage that song in my presence ever again.
I'm actually growing a greater appreciation of it these days.
You're cut off. If you didn't love it this whole time, you can't have it now. I'm sorry, you're banned.
Okay, well that's I
from
can
now
live
on.
with that.
Whenever you listen to the song, you have to skip it. You can't enjoy it. I'm sorry. I'm taking this away from you. I'm making an executive decision for your life, for the betterment of mankind.
Today I was just talking about how Claire Torrey ended up there. Why specifically that woman?
Because you hate that song.
What? No. So she ended up there to do the song that I ended up hating 30 years later. Well, that checks out. We did it again. Both taking a drink. So that is the pile I came home with. So on a scale of 1 to 10, including Delicate Sound of Thunder, which was also part of the pile, and a 15th Johnny Cash compilation record that I gave to a coworker. Scale of 1 to 10, rate my pile.
Well, the Floyd elevates the score for sure.
And not just Floyd, but that one. I mean, that's just an
true.
odd one to have.
That's an odd one of that collection. So that's like maybe not a, because it's a live album and I always knock live albums down a notch, but like it's at least an 8 or a 9. That I know you love your live albums, but it's not the same as the original material that was created.
No, it's not. That's why they're live. It's supposed to be different.
I don't weight it as much as a brand new album.
I understand.
There's some good stuff in there. I'd love to hear the AC/DCs. Those are very intrigued.
I haven't listened to any of these yet because they're not clean. Just
I mean, how did this person come across some of these rare records? And obviously a lot of stuff is probably like the flea market, the antique mall, the record store given. But
the
like
AC/DC records were acquired in Germany.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
While her son was on foreign exchange student, they are actually significantly valuable.
That's cool.
Which surprised me.
Yeah. Tom Jones, I would like to hear, because just out here, Tom Jones sing the phone book, even if the songs aren't good. And there might be a couple of other interesting ones in there. Maybe you might get lucky with one of those Johnny Cashes that we don't know if it's good or not.
I got One Piece at a Time on vinyl, which is, one of the things Johnny Cash never really gets lauded for is his sense of humor. And I think he was a pretty funny dude.
Okay. I will also add that any of those 80s records, so Spandau Ballet and Huey Lewis, I bet if anything, even if the songs are not their most memorable, I bet the albums are like tracked and recorded and mixed beautifully, because the 80s is like the era where the playing field was leveled and every album sounded really baller for a long time.
I will completely agree with that. I bought my wife for Christmas a number of years ago Hysteria, Def Leppard Hysteria.
And I'm not talking about metal specifically or black
metal. Yeah. Oh no, I know.
mean thrash metal. I mean like pop records of that time. They were all pristine.
Yeah, I am on the lookout now for an original pressing of that record, or at least an OG. And after hearing the difference between Delicate Sound of Thunder and Delicate Sound of Thunder 2020, it's not even close. I mean, I'm almost ready to sell the 2019 version of it. The difference is that stark.
Get at me when you're ready to sell that album. But anyway.
Okay, it's like $100 now. So
oh, then maybe not. Get at me. Don't get at me soon unless you want that $100. Anyway, for never mind. Continue. The Hysteria is flawless. Let's just put it out there.
Disagree, but
Steamin' Steve Clark. You can't go. They really went downhill after he died. They really did.
Oh, completely. The next record they did after this was, God, what was it?
Adrenalize.
No, there was one before it, wasn't there?
I don't. Pyromania, Hysteria, Adrenalize.
You're right. Adrenalize. Adrenalize was next, and Adrenalize was absolute phone book bullshit. Bullshniggy.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Bull Sazzy. Anywho, I've got nothing else to say this week, and I'm ready to cook dinner. So
take us home.
I will take us home, if you will. Thank you very much for listening to the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. Double thank you for watching the Glacially Musical Pouredcast. Fist bumps if you did both. Danny. One of the things we try to do here is we try to bring you greater insight to the medium of music we listen to, greater insight to the artists we listen to, and just be able to shift into fifth gear in order to really love music. And if you have made it this far, you clearly love music. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So please stick with us. Check us out next week. Episodes weekly drop on Thursday or Friday ish on all the podcasting logos along with YouTube. So I will say this. Thank you very much for joining us here this week. Catch us next week. This is the Glacial Musical Podcast. It doesn't play in Peoria.